Hello everybody, this is Elissa from Ink Arts and Crafts, and today we are here to talk a little bit about the Lunar New Year and some of the customs and traditions and information about Lunar New Year as part of the 2026 Lunar New Year DP along that I am hosting. Prizes and all of that information that is done during my weekly whip and chats. But I like to put out a video every week kind of talking a little bit about some of the culture aspects, kind of some of the stuff associated with Lunar New Year. So we are going to be doing that. And for this, I am going to be working on this book Nook and Wonderland Falling Sakura. So I can focus on this. What I will probably do is I'm going to work on this and then we're going to do a voiceover, because otherwise me trying to like coordinate reading things on my iPad while working on things is challenging, as we've seen from previous years. So I'm going to work on this. Meanwhile, we will be, I'll have it sped up a little bit, so that way, you know, it goes a little bit faster for you guys, and then I'll be voicing over, with my work. But this is a book Nook. This is my first ever book Nook. I have a couple of, like pseudo book Nook type things, where they're, they're supposed to be these little book Nook type ones, but they're ones that you have to complete. They're, like, full-blown miniatures where you have to do everything, glue, whole 9 yards. And I've got one of them that I'm working on, and I've spent hours on it already, and I feel like I have hardly made any progress. This is my first official book Nook, and I want to say that these are supposed to be significantly easier, and because the pieces basically come all ready to do, and you don't have to like glue pieces and parts together. I think it's all supposed to be like you can stick it together because they're wood pieces. So this is what I think I'm going to enjoy this one much more. So I picked this up at Michael's, in case you were wondering. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at it. I know they have a bunch of different ones. I have no idea how many different ones they have, but yes. So it will need some batteries for the lights, which are not included, but that's about it. I'm reading all of the information on this back aspect here. Alright, okay, basically just be careful with the batteries. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and break into this and see. It looks really nice, but we're gonna break into it. I'm gonna work on this while I'm filming, and then, you know, speed it up for you guys and then do the voiceovers. So we're gonna take a look at all the pieces, parts, and then we'll get into it. Oh my goodness. Ugh. This one, it definitely, like, I like the fact that I've got all of these like little wood cutout pieces, parts galore. Oh, that's fun. I like this. This is pretty cool. Okay. So yeah, I think this is pretty cool. And it does have some glue. So I guess there is some gluing components to it, but it seems much better, more realistic, like, I guess you could say. So we're going to go ahead and break into this. Make sure there's nothing underneath. Okay. So this is all of the goodies. We're going to take this all out. And then we're going to get into it and look at our directions and go from there. And then I will start talking to you guys about Lunar New Year things. So yay, exciting. So we're going to go ahead and start chatting a little bit about the Lunar New Year. So today, I think this year, rather than kind of going over just the general aspects of it, I think I'm going to try to like dive a little bit deeper into some of the different nationalities and cultures that celebrate Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Chinese New Year aspect of it, which is what most people traditionally think of when they think of the Lunar New Year, though it is celebrated in more countries. So basically, Chinese New Year aspect of the Lunar New Year, basically, it's an annual 15-day festival in China and a lot of different Chinese communities around the world. And it's really arises with or begins with the new moon. And that new moon is usually between January 21st and February 20th. And that's why you'll see that the Lunar New Year changes from year to year, because it's actually based on the phases of the moon and the time of the moon. So the festivities will go from that new moon until the following full moon, which is about, 15 or so days. So you'll hear it called it's a holiday, obviously, in China, and a lot of things completely shut down in China for this, that people can celebrate and go back home for it. It's called the Lunar New Year primarily because it follows those different phases of the moon. And starting in like the 1990s time frame, a lot of people in China, it says since the mid-1990s, people in China have been given 7 full days off from work for the Chinese New Year. So this week of relaxation is typically designated as the Spring Festival, which a lot of times you'll hear that term refer to the entirety of the Chinese New Year in general. And that's something that, even though it's not really spring, it's kind of the sign that spring is coming, basically. So, Lunar New Year, the origins, basically lots of legends surrounding it. I feel like that's the one constant, is that there are always legends around pretty much everything that we have. So basically, thousands of years ago, a monster named Nian, which means year, would attack villagers at the beginning of each new year. So people discovered that this particular monster was afraid of loud noises, color red, bright lights, those types of things. So people used those to chase this monster or this beast away. And in the process, it turned into celebrations that usher out the old year and bring forth a lot of like luck and prosperity for the new coming year. And you'll see that younger people are given money in the colorful red envelopes. That's kind of a classic thing that you'll see. And you'll also find that this is a time for feasting and visiting family members. A lot of the traditions are related to this particular season in China. Honors relatives who have died in the past, which is part of why you'll see that people end up going back home. So a lot of the younger people, I was gonna say personnel, but that's more like a work related term. But a lot of the younger people in China will actually move to the larger cities because it's easier for them to find work there, and then they work and send money back home to their families. So during the Lunar New Year, you'll find that people will end up sending all of they'll end up being able to go back home and visit their family. You'll see this is also a really good time for thoroughly cleaning your home. That gets rid of any of the lingering bad luck within your house. You'll also have special foods that are prepared and enjoyed on different days along the celebrations. And the culmination of the entire Chinese New Year is the Lantern Festival. And this is where people will hang the lanterns in the temples or carry them during a nighttime parade. And you'll find that the dragon is that Chinese symbol of good fortune. So you'll find that dragon dance commonly performed at a lot of festivals and celebrations in the areas. In this, if you've never seen a dragon dance, that procession involves a lot of long, colorful dragon. It's a long, colorful dragon, and it's carried through the streets by a lot of different dancers. So that's something that's really cool. If you've never actually seen it, I encourage you to check out in your area what kind of festivals are coming. Some cities have already had their Lunar New Year festivals. Other cities, they're waiting until this weekend, and others will be doing them next weekend. I'm unfortunately missing the ones here in the city where I live this coming weekend because I'm going to be visiting my parents and going to a different festival that is not related to the Lunar Year in any way, shape, or form this coming holiday weekend. But the following weekend, February 21st, I will be down in Orlando for a retreat. And then after that, like, day retreat, the next day, the 22nd, my mom is going with me. It's a diamond painting day retreat. So the next day, the 22nd, we are going to go to a local festival down there in Orlando since we're already going to be down there. So that'll be fun. So part of this, you'll see in when we talk about the Chinese New Year, one of the big things that's really integral to it is the Chinese zodiac. So this is basically the annual classification system. And if you guys were part of my event in previous years, some of this information may be like a repeat of things. I tried to find it from a different source. This is from the Britannica, which is, Encyclopedia Britannica. So that's something that I like to try to find more reputable sources to find this information. Unfortunately, I do not speak Mandarin, so it's very hard for me to find direct sources. It's all going to be translated things. But the Chinese zodiac, which is an integral part of the Lunar New Year, and especially part of the event that I have, since I have everything kind of centered around like these zodiac animals. That's one of the most common things that you guys can use for your diamond paintings for this event. Basically, you've got the classification system for the different years. Following the Chinese lunar calendar, Yin Yang Li, literally heaven earth, in which each year has a 12-year cycle, and you're assigned an animal for that year, and each animal is associated with a typical personality type that typifies that year, and a lot of those people that are born during that year. Dragons are considered such a good luck charm that most people, like will specifically plan their families and plan their birth of their child to fall in the year of the dragon, because it's considered, because of the personality traits that are associated with being born in the year of the dragon, which was 2 years ago now. That was the first year that I did my event, was year of the dragon. Last year was year of the snake, and this year is year of the horse. And that cycle changes to a new animal at the Chinese New Year, which, like I said, falls between January 21st and February 20th on our Western Gregorian calendars. And and once the animals have cycled through all 12, it repeats and goes all over. What are kind of cool things is the Western zodiac system, which is like Virgo, Aquarius, Pisces, all those. That's based on months, and they're named after the constellations, but the Chinese zodiac changes the animal sign each year. So it's not a month thing, it's a yearly thing. Still, there's 12 of them because there's 12 months, and then, there's a 12-year cycle for the zodiac. So it's very interesting that both zodiacs are on a cycle of 12. So what's really cool, though, in the Chinese zodiac is that human outcomes and personalities, that's the emphasis on that is placed based on your birth year, not so much your birth month. So the zodiac system, it's Xing Xiao or Xuxing. Sheng means birth year, and Xiao means likeness. Xu means the 12 earthly branches, and Sheng means animal symbolism. And I apologize for slaughtering the Mandarin for there. I really apologize for that. So you have these 12 earthly branches, and it's the Chinese system of organizing the years and hours in sets of 12, with those animals added in later. What's really cool is the legend of the Chinese zodiac, and that's basically a race between the animals, and that's said to have founded the Chinese zodiac and the order that the zodiac falls in as well. And that's something that's definitely really cool to read into. I think we may walk into it a little bit. But the true history of the Chinese zodiac and our 12 animals that we have is kind of rather unclear, as most legends and histories tend to be when we go back that many years. So some sources trace it to Warring States period, which is 475 to 221 BCE. Other places talk about it in the Qin Dynasty, which is 221 to 207 BCE. And then others during the Han Dynasty, which was 206 BCE to 220 CE. So regardless, it really became more firmly established in that latter half of the Han Dynasty. So this is something that's been, over 2,000 years that we've been seeing these, that you've been seeing the Chinese zodiac. So it's something that's been around for thousands of years. One of the most popular legends in the founding of the zodiac is basically a race between the animals, and it's recounted as the origin. So the common telling says that the Jade Emperor, who is the most revered and popular of the Taoist deities, initiated this race. Another version says that Buddha initiated the race, but whatever it was, the whole purpose of this, according to the legend, was to create the zodiac itself, and all animals were invited to participate. And for that chance to be featured in the zodiac system. The first 12 to cross the finish line would earn a place in the calendar in the order that they passed the finish line. One of the main features of this race course that they had was the river that the animals had to cross. So that's one of the important aspects. So all different versions of the legend tell of the animals arriving in the very same order. But there's a lot of variations on the reasons why each animal finished in a certain place. So one popular one states that the first animal to cross the river was the rat, and that's because he used his smarts to hitch a ride on the ox before jumping off at the last second to win the race, which that's something that kind of feeds into some of the personality aspects of the people born in the year of the rat. After the ox came the tiger, then the rabbit, and then the dragon. The dragon could fly and win the race easily, but the dragon made a detour to save some villagers from a fire, according to some versions of the story. So, he had to go save people and then come back. Next after that is the snake and then the horse. Some legends state that in order to win and beat the horse, the snake startled the horse, which is why horses are so scared of it. But others state that the snake hid and wrapped itself around one of the horse's hooves while fording the river, and like the rat did, sneaked ahead just before the finish line. Then you have the sheep, monkey, and rooster after helping each other across the river. Dog was second to last after pausing to take a bath or play in the river, depending on your version. And then the pig came in last because he had to stop to eat and rest along the way. And that's the reason why we have the order of the animals with the rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, sheep, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig. There's another version, and this is why we included cats in our event this year. Another variation states that the cat asked the rat to wake it up in the morning of the race. When the one version states that the rat forgot and the cat was too late to take part, which is why it's not part of the calendar. Another version states that the cat and the rat were both on the ox's back while crossing the river, but the rat pushed the cat overboard, sinking its chances of being on the list. And that's part of why you'll find that cats hate rats so much and try to chase and kill them. In other legends, you'll hear that either Buddha or Jade Emperor invites all of the animals to a banquet instead of a race, and those that attended the banquet are featured in part of the zodiac. So there's a lot of like differences that you'll see from one version to another. So that's one of those really cool things, is you have that variety and those differences there. So now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the personalities, the meanings, and some of those other variations for it. So basically the characteristics of each of the zodiac animals is supposed to correspond to certain traits of those born in that sign's year, which can influence things like your personality, relationships, or even your career as well. So some of the signs are said to be more compatible with other signs or more fit for different types of careers. And this is something that, along with astrological prediction within China, was once assumed to indicate the nature of the harvests and political futures as well. So it was very much tied into culture and society. So in addition to the cycle of the animals, you also have the system of elements. And I know I did talk about this last year. So the Chinese cosmology had the concept of wuxing, which is the 5 basic elements where you have earth, wood, metal, fire, and water. And these elements are kind of underlie and are the foundation of the universe, and their cycles explain a lot of the different changes within the cosmos. So the cycle of elements intersects with the cycle of the 12 zodiac signs, which then yields an even more specific combination, such as like a wood snake, a metal monkey, those types of things. And like we are in the fire horse for this year. And it's really interesting when you kind of like find out what you are and how you were born and what your makeup was as far as like what you are, basically, if that makes sense. Whatever. So the Chinese zodiac system will indicate when people need to take extra precautions. So the return after 12 years. So when your first 12 years, so if you're born in the year of the horse this year, and then 12 years later, year of the horse rolls around, that is meant to be an unlucky time. So when your birth year cycles around again, that's when you'll find that people will be a little bit more cautious and use it as a time to be aware when it's their birth year. And then when you have a 60-year cycle, that's when you've cycled through all 12 zodiacs and all 12 zodiacs with all 5 of the elements. So 12, 36, 48, 60, yes. And each of that 60-year cycles, because that's when it cycles through everything every 60 years, it's guarded by a different celestial deity or taisu. So people born during the sign of their birth year are in a state of fan taisui, which means clashing with the taisu or their celestial deity. However, since you can perform different rituals or take precautions to try to curb any of that bad luck, which includes praying to and worshiping the celestial deity, wearing red, wearing an amulet with a winged lion known as a pishu. Those are things that you'll find people doing. A lot of neighboring Asian countries, besides China, have also adopted this Chinese mythology of the zodiac. So you'll see this model in North Korea, South Korea, Cambodia, and Singapore in particular. And you'll even see variations on the animals that occur in that process. And that had to do with how the Chinese, the Mandarin really, but how that was translated into the dialect in the other regions. So in some parts of Thailand, you'll see the pig was replaced with an elephant, which is really interesting. And in Thailand, a naga, which is a mythical humanoid serpentine being, is what is used instead of the dragon. So it's basically incorporating their own cultural elements into the zodiac and not just, okay, hey, here's the Chinese zodiac. In Japan, you see that the pig was replaced with a boar and it was moved to the solar calendar rather than the lunar calendar. In Vietnam, you have the sheep, ox, and rabbit were actually replaced by goat, buffalo, and cat instead. So it's really interesting seeing those differences there. So yeah, I think that's definitely some cool, interesting facts. So since this is the year of the horse, we're going to talk a little bit about what the horse is. So according to Chinese astrology, the horse is confident, agreeable, and responsible, but can tend to dislike being reined in by others. I mean, classic things that you think of when you think of a horse. They're fit and intelligent, adoring physical and mental exertion. They're decisive, but also easily swayed and impatient. And you'll see that we have 1930, 1942, 54, 66, 78, 1990, 2002, 2014, 2026, then the next year of the horse will be 2038. So basically, we're going to talk a little bit about the horse's 2026 horoscope. So in their zodiac year, horses will experience highs and lows in love, work, and health. Breakthroughs are possible if they persist, but balanced self-care and steady finances ensure the best long-term success. So that's kind of one of the important things to see. Our year of the horse personnel, or people, I keep saying personnel, I'm so used to saying things like that in the military, but our year of the horse people are leaders who rarely accept defeat, so they can motivate themselves to put up a fight pretty much in anything that they do. Sometimes that comes off as tenacity, sometimes endurance, stubbornness, sometimes foolhardiness. It just really depends on the situation for how they're viewed. Once that horse personality matures and learns to kind of harness a little bit of their energy, they'll be unstoppable since they're both agile and shrewd thinkers who innately understand human nature. They're also principled, so their efforts can be put towards a good cause as well, which is always good. Socially, they're outgoing and have an agreeable personality. They tend to speak a little bit quickly, as quickly as they think and act, and they aren't shy about showing off their talents and capabilities, because if you're falsely self-effacing, that's not being authentic. So it's all about being true to who they are. The strengths, they can possess a lot of different talents and strengths. They're enthusiastic, candid. They can be a hero to many. Sorry about that. I had a sneeze that I had to stop and do. But they can be a hero to many people when they decide to take up a good cause and do battle on behalf of the underprivileged with a passion. They're widely liked for their natural sociability. I am most definitely not a horse. Their openness, courage, passion, which coupled with their eloquence and moral uprightness can make them really good leaders and advocates at work and both popular in love as well. They do have a tendency to give up when they're about halfway through if they run out of passion or like they're like, hey, I'm enjoying this and passionate about something. If that fails and falters, then they tend to falter and run out of steam. They don't fear failure, but they do get bored easily, which can apply both in work and in love. They can also be vain and self-glorifying. They tend to seek more attention and applause. And because of this, you'll often find that they ignore other people's contributions to them, and that could be family, their team, and that can cause those people to have a little bit of resentment towards them and towards how they're responding to them. When we add in the different elements, so the metal, water, wood, fire, and earth, that also can affect it. So horses born in those different years can also have different personalities based on the element that they were born into as well. So it's really interesting seeing that combination of factors. So their luck is associated with the numbers 2 and 7, the direction southeast, and the colors for them are red, pink, and purple. They should avoid black and blue colors, 1 and 6, north and northwest, and keeping any pet rodents. So if you are a horse, you should not have any pet rodents, apparently. That's such an interesting thing. In Chinese culture, my glasses are so dirty. In Chinese culture, your Benmingnian or zodiac birth year is also considered unlucky, and that's why you have to wear red to kind of ward off any of that misfortune or bad luck in that time frame. So our lucky things, 2 and 7, red, pink, and purple, southeast, and then flowers would be iris, jasmine, and calla lily. Those are kind of our lucky things. Unlucky things, 1 and 6, black and blue, and then northwest. There's no unlucky flowers, apparently. Horses can be energetic, lively, generous, and as such tend to be a little bit more popular with the opposite gender. And when it comes to their love compatibility, you'll find that they tend to be a little bit more hot-tempered and stubborn, but which also leads them to kind of gravitate towards a more easygoing and gentle person as kind of their counterpoint. They tend to be a little bit more assertive, and they enjoy pursuit and conquest of the person that they're pursuing. They tend to need a lot of freedom, so if their partner is needy or clingy, they can feel a little bit more stifled. So if you were born in the year of the horse, and this sounds like you, then all for it. It's really interesting, though, when we talk about zodiacs and things like this, because everything tends to be very, like, generalized. Nothing is like, this is what it is. It's all very, like, vague and generalized, where it could fit you. And I find it fascinating when we look at things. So the best match is between a horse and a tiger. So the tiger can represent a lot of the characteristics that horses dislike about themselves. So temperamental, hot-headed, and cocky. But in fact, the tiger and the horse tend to bring out the best in each other, which can allow them to grow out of those worse, bad characteristics. So it's kind of like they both are running at a breakneck speed, and that's thrilling to the horse, who would have gotten bored with a less charismatic partner. So that's kind of one of those things that they recommend for that. Another good match is horse and dog. The dog is basically the horse's dream come true when it comes to romance, since they tend to be spirited and high-strung and need that mellower partner who can give them kind of like a little bit of a break from their own passionate, like, all-out personality. The horse tends to take on a leadership role in that relationship, and that'll give them their more, like, relaxed, chill, calmer partner a sense of direction and movement in life, which is what that dog would want as well. Horse and goat is also a good match. So basically, your passionate horse can be soothed when they're riled up by the gentle and mild goat. So basically having just a few well-chosen words and a knowing touch from their better half, and the horse can kind of settle down a little bit more. The goat is viewed a lot of times as being ambitionless, but the horse is not. So the goat can be hardworking and stubborn when it comes to something that they actually care about, and that's something that the horse personalities tend to respect. Our worst matches for a horse would be a rat and an ox. The horse and the rat don't really seem to stay together for long, even if the relationship started on good terms and was, like, strongly united. So while they're both agreeable, they're well liked, they also tend to be too headstrong to kind of, like, give in to each other, so you tend to have a lot of butting of heads. So the horse would be very demanding and asks the rat to give in to their needs, while the rat will react by ignoring the horse. That will lead to a lot of conflict that neither side will bother to resolve, and that can then lead into having a very difficult match to find between those two. The horse and the ox may find their way together and start a relationship, but then you'll find that conflicts and disputes arrive, and then neither person can figure out why they were drawn to each other in the first place. So it really kind of, like, is a divisional aspect in their character. The horse tends to love freedom. The ox finds that makes them feel insecure. And that ox's stability and steadiness tends to bore the horse. What started quickly as a passionate love affair is more likely to result in a bitter breakup than a happy marriage. So really interesting seeing that. The careers that work well for our horse: they're creative and enthusiastic individuals with seemingly inexhaustible natural abilities that make them highly sought after. They are changeable characters, and you'll find that they're not known for having tenacity over the long haul, especially in those thankless behind-the-scene jobs. They tend to be a little bit more in front of everything, so best suited for leadership positions or something that gets them a lot of praise. They like that attention. Mochi, stop touching my leg. She keeps touching me. What are you doing? Just passing through? And they need that praise and recognition for the work that they do. And when they get that, they tend to pour more of their passion into that moment before they kind of move on to something else. I love it when my stuff just moves on me on my screen. Sorry. Horses don't tend to have money issues, although, like, their professional fortunes, their wealth can fluctuate a lot. But that tends to work fine for them since they rarely feel anxious about anything except being bored. So a bored horse is a bad horse. So the best careers that we find for the horse would be an architect, business executive, entertainer, entrepreneur, travel vlogger, I want that job. I would love to just like travel around the world and like vlog as I'm traveling. I'm not a year of the horse, mind you. I'm a rabbit. The worst careers for them would be investor, data analyst, executive assistant, research scientist, or government official. So the horse is powerfully built, full of life. That can make them seem like they're invincible, but it's not actually the case. Their constant activity means that they are often a little bit more strained, both on their body and their mind, and a little of the illness and injury prone, which is something to kind of like keep in mind when we are thinking about our horses. We kind of have to keep an eye on them because they can, basically run themselves ragged. Their nervous, digestive, cardiovascular, and respiratory systems are also especially prone to attack, so they're advised to take it easy when they can and keep an eye on their physical, emotional, and mental health. And if you have a horse in your family, or somebody born in the year of the horse in your family, you want to definitely keep a little bit of a closer eye on them since they're not the best about keeping up with themselves. Ugh, I hate those random ads that are popping up on things. So I already talked about the origin story, but basically the Jade Emperor or Buddha, who rules over the heavens, basically made that decree that the first 12 animals that crossed the river would receive the eternal honor of being one of the zodiacs. The horse was considered a crowd favorite, but it dawdled while it was looking for onlookers' admiration and fanfare and adoration. So it took too long at the starting line and didn't start the race until it hiccups. Too late to win the way everyone expected. But it still beat the goat, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig to the finish line. So it is the 7th zodiac animal in the 12-year cycle. There are some famous people that have been born in the year of the horse. Some of them are really passionate and charismatic leaders, performers, and activists. And other people, not so much. So some of the people on this list, it's kind of interesting seeing the list of our, and they kind of started in, unfortunately, they're not in order. I would like this if it was in order. I'm going to make it in order because that's how my brain works. So from oldest to youngest on this list, we have Clint Eastwood, born in 1930. He was a metal horse. And then we have Joe Biden, born in 1942, a water horse. Then we have Jackie Chan, which is a 54, which is a wood horse. That's really cool seeing Jack, like that definitely fits in with some of like leaders, performers, and activists. After Jackie Chan on the list, we have both Cindy Crawford for 1966 for Fire Horse and Mike Tyson, also 1966 for Fire Horse. And that's something we are officially 60 years, which is now why we are back into the Fire Horse again. 78 is Kobe Bryant. He was an earth horse. And then we have 1990 is the next one, and that is Emma Watson is who they marked down for that, which is the metal horse. And then the final person that they annotated for this would be Greta Thunberg, 2003, who is a water horse. So that's kind of one of those really interesting things to kind of see a little bit about the characteristics of our Year of the Horse personnel. So I hope you kind of enjoyed hearing a little bit about that. I might go into some of the other ones. Now I'm curious. I want to look at the rabbit. I am born in the year of the rabbit. So I want to see what it says about the rabbit, which we won't have another year of the rabbit until 2035. And that's because we literally just had a year of the rabbit a couple of years ago in 2023. So our rabbits are open, optimistic, sensitive, imaginative, and they enjoy the comfortable side of life. Oh, that's totally me. They're not the bravest of the zodiacs and may become neurotic if they choose to dwell on their emotions. Yeah, I think that's called what? Anxiety, I think. So that's, let me kind of come down. Let me see, when was I am a fire rabbit, apparently. Fire rabbit. That's kind of fun. Okay. Let's see, what else does it say about, okay, for my 2026 horoscope. 2026 for rabbits highlights love and harmony with romance and family joy favored. Minor career delays and steady expenses test patience, but flexibility and care in health keep the year rewarding. So I don't know how I feel about that. It does say that rabbits are elegant, imaginative, and courteous to others, even their enemies, because they hate any kind of conflict. I do hate conflict. I find conflict to be rather tedious. Savvy in business and financial situations, good at win-win solutions, They like an abundant lifestyle and prefer not to be stressed out. Yeah, I agree with all of that. They tend to be earnest, and they just ask others treat them the same way with earnesty. They don't tolerate a boring life. I need to be entertained. They continuously create interest in life and hop from one excitement to the next. Interesting. Because I definitely kind of like dive deep into things. But anyways, as we look, we'll give a break from that in these last couple seconds. You can see we are almost done with the first page of, well, we're like halfway done with the first half of the first section of my book Nook. It was a entire afternoon project. I did finish it in one day, but it took me a hot minute. But anyways, that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tidbit. We'll talk more next week. Bye.